join us for our 10th anniversary celebration during our 2025 Sedona Ascension Retreat, celebrating a new humanity uniting and a new earth arising. Visit SedonaAscensionRetreats.com.
All right, how's everybody doing? All right, good. Thank you for coming. If you were here last night, thank you for last night as well. You know, after kind of being here and getting a vibe for the feeling here, I kind of then decided what I was going to talk about today. So today we'll be talking about religion versus spirituality, because I think there needs to be a clear line drawn between the two to get a better understanding of what spirituality actually is, so that we don't have encumbrances in our way of getting to the higher levels. I think that sometimes we get some things confused just because of programming from growing up. You probably heard me say this before. When you're born, you're given a name, a race, and a religion, and you spend the rest of your life defending a false identity. And so a lot of that identity gets integrated into our beginnings of our spiritual practices and on our journey. And sometimes you have to learn how to filter that stuff out. So we're going to make a clear separation between the two today, so that we can understand, and we're going to talk and touch on spiritual concepts as well as some of the science behind it. Typically, this would be like a 5-hour lecture that I would do. I've done it also like 6 hours as well, but I'm going to condense this down to 1 hour so we can stay on time today. But we're going to get into it, all right?
Yeah.
Make sure this thing doesn't fall out. All right. Now, one thing I learned in doing these lectures is you have to get your shameless plugs out of the way in the beginning. The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets is a very spiritual book. If you haven't read the Emerald Tablets, it's extremely spiritual, and the more you read it, the more path to enlightenment you gain consciously. So I highly recommend reading the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. This book is a bestseller now in 5 countries, and right now currently #1 in the United States. And I barely market it. Barely. Thank you. If you don't understand that abundance and finances go together, spirituality and understanding financial literacy go together, not separate. I had to write this book because too many people going on the path of spirituality didn't understand that it doesn't mean that you're supposed to be poor, broke, suffering, and struggling financially. If that's the situation that you're in, you're not enacting your spiritual power. I guarantee you that. Every ancient sage has walked in power and abundance, including Yeshua, aka Jesus. He never had to work and ask for anything. Everything was provided to him when he needed it. And that's the way you're supposed to walk through this world. So I wrote this book, Woke Doesn't Mean Broke. It's also a bestseller in 4 countries. This is my fiance. She has a book called The Recipe to Elevated Consciousness. And what's important about this book, if people are suffering from abandonment issues, she was adopted as a baby. If you're suffering from drug abuse, if you're suffering from even past drug abuse or traumas or other financial situations that put you in a bad place, divorces and such, this book is an amazing book to help you go through an exact recipe to bring you back to where you need to be and higher. That's the QR code for that. And my social media app, Unite the 99. Why Unite the 99? Because there's 99% of us, which is 8 billion people, being controlled by less than 100 families. And so we need to unite. We need to stop this divide and conquer. We need to talk about the situations that are dividing us, but we need to expose it so that we can learn it's stupid and we need to come together. And on this app, you can post content, video clips, links, images, videos, whatever you want, and there's no algorithm. There's nobody going to suppress your content. And of course, my Forbidden Knowledge TV. If you want 3 days free, watch over 6,000 shows in my Egyptian Mystery School, which is 36 hours of teaching. Get a free trial and binge watch it for free on Forbidden Knowledge TV. You can get it on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, all Samsung TVs, and of course the web and your iOS App Store and Google Play Store. Okay, that's out of the way. because you always run out of time at the end. What is this here? We have a preacher that's talking to an alien. The Vatican, you know, a few years back, I don't know if you knew this, they had come forward and made an official statement that they want to be the first ones to baptize an alien. Actual fact, look it up. And so, I mean, my good friend Brad Hall's here in the front. I'm sure you know all about that one, right, Brad? Brad Olson. But anyway, so it's interesting that they want to baptize the first alien. What are they doing? They're actually trying to prep society for what they know already exists. And how do they know it exists? They know it because virtually all religions worship aliens. All religions worship aliens. Let's take a look. Virtually all religions worship aliens. Okay, if you look at the definition of alien, a resident born in or belonging to another country or an entity from outer space. That's the actual definition. Okay, so that's clear. It's either you're from another place or another place out in space. Christianity, 2.1 billion people worship Jesus. Okay, John 8:23, and he said unto them, you are from beneath, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world. That's an alien. There's nothing bad about it, but it's an alien. Okay, Islam, 1.3 billion people believe that the Prophet Muhammad was meditating in the cave of Hira by himself when the angel Gabriel, who says he's not from earth, descended and came down from above and told him to recite the Iqra, the words of God, even though the Prophet Muhammad was illiterate at the time. Muhammad actually had to go get a scribe and pay this guy to sit there and dictate what the other guy was telling him. So it stepped down through him to another person. But again, somebody bringing in information from space, alien. Hinduism, 851 million Hindus hold that the cosmos is populated by numerous deities and spiritual beings, gods, goddesses, or divas who actually influence the world and who interact with humans. Again, they're not from Earth, aliens. Buddhism, 375 million. Okay? Certain branches of the larger Buddhist tradition, including the Mahayana, include a variety of gods and goddesses, again, not from Earth. And of course, the Mormons, 13.5 million. The angel Moroni, who claims to be not from Earth, came down from space, came and visited Joseph Smith on numerous occasions, beginning on September 21st, 1823. That's the modern era. According to Smith, the angel was the guardian of the golden plates, which the Latter-day Saints believe were the source material for the Book of Mormon, buried in a hill near Smith's home in West New York. So I'm stating actual facts. I'm not trying to be comical or funny, but I'm stating actual facts is that people, you know, specifically mostly religious people, shun the idea or concept that aliens exist. However, they themselves worship aliens and pray to aliens nonstop by the true definition of the actual word. What's the problem with this? Well, it creates this kind of problem. Social conflict. It creates racism, inequality, sexism. It creates a lot of problems. Religion reinforces and promotes social inequality and social conflict. It helps convince the poor to accept their lot in life, and it leads to hostility and violence motivated by religious differences. This perspective focuses on the ways in which individuals interpret their religious experiences. And the problem with this is, I'm Baptist, we're better than you. We're Protestant, we got it right. No, we're Pentecostal, no, we know the way. And so these differences between the religion creates conflict. And of course, we know that it puts you in a box. If you can envision an ocean and then put a fish inside of a fishbowl and put the fishbowl in the ocean, that's religion. If you look in the ocean and see a fish swimming freely in the ocean, that's spirituality. So let's just take a look at religious conflicts, because more people have been killed over religious beliefs than any other reason on the face of the planet. And a lot of people just don't realize or maybe not even know this, but this just solidifies more that everyone here on the spiritual path is on the right path. And the reason why I'm teaching you this is because you need to be able to explain this. You need to be able to articulate this to people who have questions for you, who haven't been able to answer their questions. I know it for a fact. You can't answer them appropriately and properly. You can't articulate what you're trying to say about the differences, and so because of that, you meet with conflict. This presentation, if you learn what I'm talking about here, will help you overcome that conflict. Look at the Taiping Rebellion, 20 million deaths over religious beliefs. The 30-Year War, 7.5 million deaths. The Mahdi Revolt, 5.5 million. The Crusades, 3 million deaths. The French Wars of Religion, 3 million. Wars in the Sudan, 2.6 million. The Albigensian Crusade, 1 million deaths. Penthe Rebellion, 1 million. The Hoi Rebellion, 640,000. The Partition of India, 500,000. Cromwell's invasion of Ireland, 400,000 deaths. Human sacrifice, the gladiatorial games, 3.5 million, and the Aztec sacrifice, 1.2 million people. That's a lot of people dying over belief systems, right? Last night when I was talking on the panel, I had mentioned the fact that it's the best time to be alive. It's the best time to be alive. We don't have this happening right now, thankfully. So when people are preaching this end of the world concept through religious belief systems, just ignore them. Ignore them. We are not anywhere close to the end of the world, not even close. I talked about we had the bubonic plague, we had the black plague, we had the Spanish flu. That almost wiped out humanity completely, right? We had the papal inquisitions. The inquisitions aren't even on this list. That's 80 million people tortured and murdered worldwide to bring religion to the world. That means, people going to lands where indigenous peoples lived, conquering them, taking the chief or the person in charge of that village, the sage or the bushman or whoever it was, the medicine man, and torturing them in front of the whole group of people, the villagers, and saying, now you learn our language and you learn our religion or this is going to happen to you. By the second generation, they're born with the programming code. Now this is what we do. You see? And this is not happening right now. When you wake up in the morning and go outside, you don't see dead bodies laying in the street. You can go for a nice walk in your neighborhood. You may see some situations going on here and there depending on where you live, but you're not going to see dead bodies and people ravaged by disease all over the place. Now there are things going on in some countries, especially throughout Africa and the Middle East. There are some things that are going on that are not that great. But overall, when you look at the total number of people on the planet versus the amount of people that are going through extreme situations, the numbers are not as great as they used to be in the past, which tells me that we're not close to an end time situation. The end of times would have came already if that was the case. So we're not in the end time. So wipe that end times concept out of your mind, all right? There are some things out there that could destroy us like asteroids and comets and things like that. There's one called Apophis, which was discovered. I talked about this all the way back in 2011 through 2013. It slipped through a gravitational keyhole, but on its next pass in about a dozen years, it'll slip past between Earth and the moon, but it won't impact. And there's another one coming in 2036, I believe, or something like that, probably on Valentine's Day. It slipped through also a gravitational keyhole, which is astrophysics. But make a long story short, there's an impact potential, but by then we'll already have developed, we already have it now actually, a technique to shift the orbit of an object like that. We actually launched a project about 8 years ago which landed on a comet and shifted its orbit successfully, and we'll be using that same exact technique to shift the orbit of this object before it impacts Earth as well. So we're gaining in technology, we're gaining in understanding, we're gaining in sciences, and now we have to catch up with our spirituality. After the fall of Rome, Egypt became part of the Byzantine Empire until it was conquered by the Muslim Arabs in 641 CE. Throughout the Middle Ages, from its conquest, the Islamic Empire in the year 641 until 1517, Egypt was governed as part of a series of Arab caliphates. The reason why Egyptians don't speak Egyptian is because Muslims came in, Arab Muslims came in and literally killed millions. They slaughtered millions of Egyptians and conquered their land. This is well known. They're taught this in elementary school. In Egypt, if you are a natural born Egyptian, you have a Coptic cross tattooed on your wrist to identify that you're not Arab. So they had to succumb to that. That's why they speak Arabic now. They write Arabic, they speak Arabic, and for the most part, Egyptians don't even understand how to read hieroglyphs, okay? Because it's been completely robbed from them. So when you take or dominate or take over a culture with a belief system through slaughter and murder, it's typically how it happens in rape and everything else, you then impart your ideology onto them, your dogma onto them, and then by the second or third generation, The concept of even having, knowing who you were, where you came from, it disappears, it vanishes. So let's talk about some of the spiritual aspects, because all of us are truly beings of light. All of us are actually God walking in the flesh, all right? So if you look at the universe as a whole, as above, so below. Let me go to that. Oh, I'm there. Oh, good. Thank you. So you look at the universe as above, so below. All right. And so what is actually happening here? What is our mission as a sentient being on this planet right now? A lot of people have that question, like, what are we doing here? Why? We are on a data collection mission. We are here to collect information. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience for a temporal amount of time, right? Temporal meaning the time frame. And if you look at the way that the universe works in fractals, what happens on the highest level also happens on the smallest level. So look at the brain first, because now we can't perceive the bigger picture from this perspective unless we analyze what's going on here. The brain is encased in darkness in your skull. The brain has no idea what's going on outside of that skull. Zero. It knows nothing. But what does the brain have? It has friends. Sight, touch, smell, hearing, right? Taste. It has sensory. Your sensory friends. So the brain says to its friends, go out there and bring me back some data so I can figure out what's going on. The friends go out, they touch, they smell, they taste. The friends themselves have no idea what's going on out here. But they bring the data, the digital data, they bring it back to the brain. They send it to the brain via fiber optics, our nervous system, right? The brain takes that data and sorts it all out within milliseconds and then projects a hologram as to what's going on the outside, and then you navigate through the matrix based on that holographic projection. And that's how you move through this world. We're living in a gigantic holodeck, if you ever watched Star Trek. But that's the process. The process is direct. But what is it that's going on? Data collection. That's important. The mind is collecting data. Now we know the universe is a mind. It has enough connection. If you zoom out from the universe and look at it from millions of miles away through computer simulations, it looks like the nervous system of a human brain. Interesting. So if you understand now that we are a fractal of the whole, and in a fractal you find the largest in the smallest piece. So let's now magnify to the massive scale and realize, oh, the universe has basically imbued itself into Googles of entities throughout the entire universe. Google is actually a number, not the search engine. Just in case you didn't know. Google is actually a number. Through Googles of entities throughout the entire universe, and we are its friends. We are all it, and it is us. Separation is an illusion. Division, individuality is all an illusion. We are actually one entity experiencing itself subjectively as multiple beings through various perspectives. And what are we all doing? We're collecting information. We're transmitting it back to the source. I'm experiencing life as Billy Carson. Brad's experiencing life as Brad, right? You all are experiencing life as yourself, but we're all the same entity, and we're all transmitting back through spiritual connections back to the source. What is it like to go through a life experience as yourself? And all sentient beings are doing that throughout the entire known universe. That's what's happening. And why? Because the divine creator wants to know what it's like to be us in the third dimension. From every aspect, from every perspective. What is it like to be a blade of grass? What is it like to be a rock? And that's what's going on. So we get to an understanding of our spiritual antenna, which one young woman here was talking a little earlier when the previous speaker was up about activating the pineal gland. First, we must understand what it is. It is a spiritual antenna that connects us to the divine. It's our ability to connect with higher dimensions, up to 11 dimensions we can connect to through the pineal gland. If you take a human brain and cut it open, slice it right down the middle and open it, part it up, you're going to see the Eye of Horus there. That is the Eye of Horus symbol that you see all throughout ancient cultures. You see, the ancients knew all about this third eye. They knew about this pineal gland, which is located deep, deep, deep inside the brain. It's not right here, even though we recognize it here. That's just, a metaphor. It's really deep inside the brain. How did they know that it had light receptors and that it processes light even though it can't actually see? You see, they had this ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom of the third eye. And they represented it with the eye of Horus, who is also represented as the falcon, as you see there as part of the brain stem. So when you see the eye of Horus symbol and people try to tell you, oh, that's Illuminati. No, it's not Illuminati. They're referencing the eye of Providence, which is on the dollar bill, which is a totally separate eye and has nothing to do with the eye of Horus at all, not even close. Two separate eyes, two totally separate meanings. This is an image here of the pineal gland deep inside the human brain, okay? That's where it's located, deep, deep, deep inside of there. But yet, it releases DMT. So you don't have to travel to the jungles of Peru and take this plant medicine to release DMT. If you do breathwork meditation, your body will begin to tell the pineal gland to begin releasing higher levels of DMT, and you can get the same psychedelic experiences through breathwork meditations. And there's about 2 or 3 2-hour or 3-hour sessions of breathwork meditation on 4bk.tv. That's my TV network. You can go to Forbidden Knowledge TV, get the app, and watch the breathwork meditation. Participate in that, and you will have a psychedelic experience coming out of your pineal gland. DMT will be released from your pineal gland. You'll have a psychedelic experience without leaving the comfort of your home and without having to travel out into the bush. And the reason why that's important is because some people don't come back. And that's a fact. That's the part you don't hear about. Getting with people that you trust. If you do plant medicine, that's fine. I'm not against it. But you must be with people that you trust, people that you know, people that are not going to take advantage of you in that when you're in that state of mind, because it happens to millions of people every single year. Some people never come back. You end up in a slave camp in Libya. You end up getting your organs donated to somebody. You just have to be careful what you do when you're dealing in that area. You have to make sure you know exactly where you are, who you're with, and what can happen to you when you're under that influence. But when you do a breathwork meditation in your own bedroom, you're probably safe. A lot safer than you would if you went out into the jungles. Just I'm saying. Know that there's crystal magnetite inside the human brain, and there's also crystal inside the pineal gland. So inside the pineal gland and inside the back of your brain, there's a lot of crystals. The pineal gland is made of crystals. What happens when you strike a big lighter, right? A lighter to light, hopefully you guys don't smoke, but if you do, you have a lighter, right? But when you strike that lighter, it's not a piece of flint in there making a spark. There's a crystal in the lighter. All lighters have crystals inside of them, and when you smash the crystal, it squeezes and it creates a spark of energy, and then the gas is ignited. That's how you get a flame from a lighter. That same flame is ignited in your brain when you learn how to move the fluid up and down your spinal column through different types of breathwork meditations. You squeeze the pineal gland and it sparks, and you have a kundalini awakening, you see? Also in your brain, you have magnetite crystals, billions of them. So they took people and they put them in a laboratory, and they put this gigantic bar magnet that moved around the room, and they connected an EEG to their head and connected it to a computer. And as the bar magnet, this giant magnet, moved around, they found that the human brain was tracking the magnet. You know how turtles can come back to the shore where they were born and lay more eggs? Birds can flock south for the winter. Animals can navigate the planet based on the magnetic field, bees and such, birds and so forth. Well, they're utilizing their magnetite crystals. It was something that we naturally were able to do in the ancient past, before the genetic modification that happened to us, unfortunately, about 200,000 years ago. Our ability to recognize and see and feel the magnetic field has dissipated so significantly that we're not even aware that we're tracking the Earth's magnetic field. If we were able to tap back into this properly, we wouldn't even need a GPS system in our cars. We have the natural GPS already inside of our skulls, okay? It's part of the process also, this magnetic system that we have is part of the process that holds your spirit in your body. Inside of your brain, you have something called the neuro-correlates of consciousness. The parts of your brain that generate self-awareness, and the researchers at the Allen Institute for Brain Science discovered 3 giant neurons, and one of them is projected, you can't read the rest of the word here, but projected around the skull. They're projected around the skull like a crown of thorns. What did Yeshua wear in the biblical story about the crucifixion? He had on a crown of thorns. It's actually a metaphor for the information that we're showing you here, that there are nerves wrapped around the inside of your skull that look like a crown of thorns under a CRT or a brain scan. That neuro-correlates of consciousness is extremely important because it's part of your ability to gain higher levels of reasoning and consciousness. And between that and the magnetite crystals and the pineal gland and also your claustrum, it is allowed you to be able to temporally hold in the spirit in this avatar body. The neurons connected to the claustrum, the neurons are connected to the claustrum. The claustrum is like the conductor of an orchestra. It coordinates inputs and outputs, then help to download consciousness. This is from science books. I'm reading you directly from science books and universities. I'm not telling you this off of the top of my head. I'm not downloading this to you now. I'm giving you real science. They say it downloads. This is real science here. It downloads. It coordinates inputs, outputs, and then helps to download consciousness. It's located on each hemisphere in a highly dense region. It's responsible for perception, movement, vision, and hearing. But it works in collaboration with the magnetite crystals and the neuro-correlates of consciousness. Imagine a radio station in your neighborhood that is projecting out radio station signals, right? 99.1, 99.2, 99.3, 99.4. It's all coming from one source. That one source is the universal consciousness, and point number is a frequency that your avatar body has been able to temporally encapsulate utilizing this mechanism inside the biological avatar body. That's how you're holding your spirit in this body for a period of time until this avatar ceases to exist, and then when those particular mechanisms stop functioning, it releases your spirit back into source. That's how you get out of here, okay? So what does this mean for us? It means we have the power of the force, and we can tap into this force. But it can be used for good, and it can also be used for evil. All right? The force is real. Real science. When I was at MIT studying applied neuroscience, they talked about the force. And I mean the force from Star Wars. Not like, you know, not a joke, it was real. I was like, they're teaching this in this class. This is crazy. We're talking about the powers that are innate inside of every single human being. Mind control, telekinesis, right? Seeing the future. That's, you know, you're talking about now things like astral projection and remote viewing and things like that. There's something in the body called the midi-chlorians inside each cell. The microscopic life forms that are found in cells with high counts, they can feel and actually utilize this force. And the force they're talking about is this grid, this energetic grid that we are literally sitting in, this soup that we're living in. We are inside of something called a membrane. It's an M theory in quantum physics. And this membrane has this energetic, it's part of this energetic grid that connects all of us. And the midi-chlorians inside of our cells can tap into that. And because you can control your cells and the energy in your cells, you can actually learn how to focus that energy and utilize it. But it can be used for the force. The force can be used for power and control, or it can be used for peace, balance, and light. It's up to us, because we're in a free will universe. You have the power to make your own conscious thought. Some people in science are teaching things like, and also in religion are teaching things like, your destiny is already set in stone and it can't be changed. That's actually inaccurate. Many, many scientific studies have been done on this. Now, they did find something interesting. They took a group of people and put them in individual rooms, and they put a screen up in front of them, and they put an EEG on their head connected to a computer. The original purpose of this experiment was to discover what the brain looked like emotionally when it saw different types of images. So every 10 seconds, they will put a different image on the screen and record the emotional response on a computer. That was the objective of the actual experiment. What happened in each case study, the human brain began to tell the computer what the next image was up to 7 seconds in advance. So what does that mean? We're not living in real time. They would put a picture of a field of bed of roses, a woman holding a baby, somebody getting murdered, a severe car accident, all different ranges of emotions. The brain was sending to the computer up to 7 seconds in advance what the next image was going to be, what emotion to generate for the next image. This was duplicated hundreds of times in laboratories around the world, and what it means is that we're not experiencing what we think is real time, like me saying, hey, I'm Billy Carson, and touching his mic. That happened 7 seconds ago. You just perceived it. I just perceived it. Even when you look at somebody, you don't see them in real time, because it takes time for the photon to ping off of that person's body, get back to my retina, go to the back of my brain, and be processed so I can actually understand what's there in front of me. That takes time. By the time that happens, the person has already moved. So you don't even see in real time. There is no such thing as real time from a physical aspect, but from a spiritual aspect, there is. Imagine that we're all right now experiencing life, if we're not aware of it, we're experiencing life as a wave crashing over our body. And every time the wave crashes over us, we're standing on the shore and the wave crashes over us, that's when we recognize the moment of now. We recognize the moment of now based on getting crashed over by a wave. Oh, this is the moment I'm in. But when you become super spiritual and you gain that ascension, wisdom, and knowledge, and you're understanding how to walk in your power, you're surfing the wave. And as you surf the wave, you're closer to the real time. This is how great athletes like Michael Jordan would beat you. When he would be interviewed, he said that the people around him, including his own teammates, looked like they were moving in slow motion. He had gotten into such a high state of meditation through the game and getting in the flow state that everything slowed down. And in that state, he was surfing the wave, not waiting for it to crash over him. The players that wait for the wave to crash over them, they're just basic players. But what elevated him to the next level? He was surfing the wave. He was closer to real-time information, real-time knowledge. He would weave between 5 people and score on them as if they were standing still, because he was able to obtain that high level of consciousness through the meditation of that sport. A sport is a meditation. A hobby is a meditation. And through those, you can get into flow states and you can reach those higher levels of intuition, and you can tap into that frequency instead of waiting for the wave to crash over you, and then you just become an average person again. See? For a long time, thank you. For a long time, I have been talking about the dimensions and 11 dimensions and the fact that 11 dimensions exist, otherwise the universe would collapse. And I've been corroborated with that information by several theoretical physicists. This is a short clip I'm going to play of me talking about it again in another recent podcast that I just did. But just last year, real science came out to back up what I've been talking about for the last 10 years. And so I'm going to try to play this. Can you press play for me on this? So I dug real deep into it, and I got to the understanding that we're living in a multi-dimensional universe, and there's at least 11 dimensions, otherwise the universe would collapse. Each dimension is a 90-degree angle right above the next one, compactified, so they're sitting right on top of us. So within less than a Planck unit of space above you, there's another dimension that actually exists with a whole other universe happening simultaneously while we're sitting right here. Wow.
That's hard to fathom.
So, our brain, now that we've gone into this new discovery, so Doug has discovered that our brain is tapping into 11 dimensions now. This just came out. This is brand new science. And I've been talking about the connection between the human brain and the 11 dimensions for literally 10 years. If you go on my feeds and my social media accounts, you'll find all these old posts, all these old clips of me when I looked a lot younger, talking about this stuff. And now, last year in 2022, the brain model was produced by a team of researchers from the Blue. This is a powerful place where they do a lot of brain research and studies. Last year, neuroscientists used a classic branch of math in a totally new way to peer into the structure of our brains. What they discovered is that the brain is full of multi-dimensional geometrical structures operating in as many as 11 dimensions. It's now peer-reviewed science, that's official now. They'll be adding this to books in neuroscience in the upcoming years. We used to think that the world from a 3D perspective, we used to think of the world from a 3D perspective, so this may sound a bit tricky, but the results of this study could be the next major step in understanding the fabric of the human brain, the most complex structure that we know of. This brain model was produced by a team of researchers from the Blue Brain Project, a Swiss research initiative devoted to building a supercomputer-powered reconstruction of the human brain. The team used algebraic topology, a branch of mathematics used to describe the properties of objects in spaces regardless of how they change shape. They found that groups of neurons connect to cliques and that the number of neurons in a clique would lead to its size and high-dimensional geometric object, which is a mathematical dimensional concept, not space-time. Spacealert.com. Again, I always bring my receipts when I talk. It's important to have the receipts these days. I'm telling you. It's important because otherwise sometimes you don't get taken seriously. And I like to take the woo-woo out of spirituality because I believe that everyone has these amazing experiences, but how do we explain them? Thank you. You have to begin to understand what's going on behind the veil. Once you can do that, then you can begin to answer questions when people ask them to you. You can begin to articulate what you're trying to say instead of giving them some type of explanation that makes them walk away angry. So my hope is that we can begin to understand what is going on behind the veil. How do we make the connection between the science and the spirituality? Not only so we can explain it, but also so we can understand when we're going through a spiritual moment, what's happening behind the scenes. Because I discovered something. I started asking people random questions like, what's 2 times 2? Adults, what's 2 times 2? They would say, oh, 4. I said, okay, why? And then I would see them stumble. Well, explain it. Well, then it took them a moment to gather their thoughts. Because you see, we're taught to remember answers to questions. We're not taught to understand how the answers become the answers. We're like taught like, hey, just memorize this and that's it, you're good, right? That's the problem that we have. School teaches our kids how to remember answers. That's it. They don't really teach them how to solve the problems. It's all about, can you remember the answer? And if you can remember the answer, you'll pass the test. But they don't even know how to solve the problem. That's where we have to begin to realize, okay, well, why, if I'm meditating, am I gaining this wisdom or this intuition? How am I gonna get more manifestation through my life through a manifestation meditation? Why does it even work? How does putting action behind my thoughts create my reality? But when you begin to understand the science and begin to understand that we are multidimensional beings tapping into higher levels of consciousness, when you say it to people, now you can speak with more confidence because you know there's real science behind it, see? So, signs of spirituality. Experiencing connections with your higher self is a process. Seeking your higher power can increase your spiritual vibration and induce positive emotions. Some of the signs are as follows. Feeling peaceful within meditation and other mindful practices. Avoiding negative people and behaviors, that's a big one. We must begin to avoid negative people and also people that have negative behaviors. Avoid them like a plague. I'm telling you. These people are contagious. They are the new pandemic. Get away from them, all right? Put on your spiritual mask. Because I'm telling you, they will get into you. When I was at MIT, one thing we learned was that when a person walks into a room, their biofield, which is projected from their heart, it carries the hormones in their body out 15 to 20 feet away from their body. And it will interconnect with your biofield. Every single person here right now is connected through an energetic magnetic field, right now at this exact moment. And whoever has a spike in hormones of cortisol or dopamine, it's riding up that magnetic field and interacting with the other fields of other people in here, and it's also now going into their body. So if I walk in a severely bad mood, angry, frustrated, pissed off, low vibrational, my cortisol is spiked. It now interacts with your field and then spikes your cortisol in your body. Mine is added to yours. Now you start to feel bad, frustrated, and angry. And you don't even know why. I just pulled you down. I just sucked the life out of you and made you feel bad by walking into a room. But on the other side, when she walks into the room, the whole room lit up. You ever heard somebody say that? I said that a few times in my life. So what it is though is somebody's walking in a high vibration, walking in their power, high energy, happy, excited, exuberant. Well, guess what? Those hormones are now interacting with my field and sending it into my body, and now I feel better, I feel happy. I want to smile because they look good, they're smiling good. Yes. They seem happy, I want to feel happy too. Yes. We have mirror neurons, and I want to mirror what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling, you see? And so this is the power of that, but you have to know that it works both ways. Just like the law of attraction works both ways. Get away from people who always have a problem for every solution. Feeling compassionate and positive, asking questions about life and death, finding meaning and purpose in life, being hopeful when things are challenging, believing that life is sacred and should be embraced, having a greater level of empathy and intuition, feeling at peace while being alone, feeling connected with your soul and having a strong sense of self-worth, believing that life is sacred and should be embraced, being present in the moment. That's a huge one. I learned, something special from the late Bob Proctor. Rest in power, Bob Proctor passed away. But man, he taught a powerful lesson. He held up an hourglass, and he showed that the bottom of the glass was the past. We can't go back to the past. There's nothing we can do about it. So whoever's focusing on the past is focusing on things that have already happened. You're missing the present. And then he showed that the future, it hasn't truthfully happened yet, even though you can project into it and try to create that future. But right in the middle was the moment of now that a lot of people miss, because they're too worried about the past or the future, and they're not focusing on now. We have to begin to realize that now is just as important. Matter of fact, more important than anything. This exact moment that we're in, every moment that we're in, the moment of now, smelling the roses. I know it for about 20 years. Even though I lived in Miami, Florida, I didn't go to the beach for 20 years. 20 years I didn't go to the beach. And I was like, man, this is crazy. I just realized I haven't been to the beach in 2 decades. What in the world? So one day I got in my car and I drove down to the beach and I went for a beach walking meditation. I got the greatest spiritual enlightenment I had gotten in decades doing that walk, and I became dedicated then to walking on the ocean, as much as I possibly can. And I realized, wow, I have been missing this moment. These moments were really incredible, powerful moments. I got so sucked up into business and trying to advance myself and taking care of my family and everything else that I forgot about me. I literally forgot to the point where I wasn't even buying myself stuff. I wouldn't buy myself any new clothes or anything. I said, wait a minute, I gotta stop and take care of myself too. When you get on an airplane, the flight attendant comes to you, the flight attendant says, right before the plane takes off, in case of a loss of cabin pressure and the oxygen mask drop, make sure you have oxygen flowing to yourself before you help anybody else. So I had to stop and take a break, and I had to get into the present moment and start, looking at myself and saying, hey, what do I need? What's going to be good for me? What's going to help me become better, feel better? I had to give myself some self-care, some self-love, and spend some time with myself. I used to take myself out on dates after that. Yeah, I'm serious. Take yourself out on a date. Look at my YouTube, my Facebook page, my personal Facebook. You see, I'm out on a self-date right now. I take a picture of myself on a date. I'm taking myself on a date. We have to learn how to go out there and fall in love with ourselves. Okay? Because nobody else is going to make you happy. If you're in a relationship or something to get yourself happy by somebody else, you're doing the wrong thing. You have to be happy first about yourself. Spirituality does not come from our soul. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans, which were supposed to help people spiritually. Due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, divisive, and a tool for power struggle. Spirituality is not theology or ideology. It is simply a way of life, pure and original, as given by the Most High. Spirituality is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other. Haile Selassie said that. Amazing quote. So religion versus spirituality. Religion is concerned with faith in the claims of one faith tradition or another, an aspect of which the acceptance of some form of heaven or nirvana. Connected with this are religious teachings or dogma, ritual, prayer, etc. And prayer is a big problem. Prayer, in the way that we've been taught to pray, is not accurate in my personal opinion. When you pray and you get on your knees and you're begging, hoping, and wishing, if I put an EEG cap on your head while you're in that mode of prayer that we've been taught, you'll find that there's a low vibration on the screen. On the computer screen, there'll be an oscillation. And the oscillation pattern will be low and wide. It will be a trough here and a trough here, which means the distance in between is a low frequency. When the oscillations are fast and closer together, that's a high frequency. So we know that when a person, this has been done in laboratories, when a person is in their typical praying mode, because of the mindset of humbleness, begging, wishing, hoping for assistance, it's a low frequency concept. And low frequency brings back from the universe low frequency. Think about how many prayers go out a day from a person who doesn't know how to pray. Trillions of prayers go out a day. When you add up 8 billion people praying multiple times a day, even if it's just thank you God or thank you Lord, it adds up to trillions of prayers a day. And yet, a lot of those have never gone answered. Why? Because they're on the wrong frequency. You have to know how to communicate with the universe. This is my prayer. My prayer is, I command it. Yes. Somebody cuts me off in traffic, I bless this person. Make it to your destination safely. That's the prayer. That is the actual prayer. Not, oh God, oh Lord, please. No, no, no. That's the prayer. Because why? The divine spark that created everything in the entire universe inhabits every single atom in your body. You are a fractal of the divine creator. God is you and you are God. You have the power to command your realities into existence, but we don't use it because we don't believe it. If I'm traveling to a location, I just command that I arrive safely. That's it. I don't beg and hope and wish and pray that I get there safely. I command that I arrive at my destination safely. That's it. That's my prayer. There's a famous video of Greg Braden. Anybody here know Greg Braden? See him? He's a great teacher, great thought leader. He, about maybe 8 years ago, or 9 years ago now, he was in China, and he was at this location where they were doing this healing of a woman who was in a hospital in China. She had a gallbladder tumor, which was about the size of a tennis ball. They had it live on screen through a type of ultrasound machine, which was broadcasting live to the screen. 3 or 4 doctors leaned over her with no tools, no injections, no pharmaceuticals, no scalpel, and they started saying, whoop, shot, whoop, shot, whoop, shot, whoop, shot, over and over again for about 15, 20 minutes. While they were doing this, live on the screen, the gallbladder began to disappear. It crumpled up and just disappeared in her gallbladder. So Greg goes to the doctor. What in the world were you guys saying? This whoop shot, what is that? He goes, it was a prayer. He goes, it was a prayer? He said, what was the prayer? He goes, it is done. That was the prayer. You see, they commanded the heal over this woman. They didn't beg for it. They didn't ask for it. And what are you doing when you pray? You're trying to cast a spell. You don't know how to cast spells, and so they fail. You see, you're not a wizard. And so that's what you're doing. Anybody praying is trying to cast a spell. You're trying to change and alter future realities based on cymatic frequencies coming out of your throat. You're casting a spell. You want to change the universe's outcome to your favor when you pray. That's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to cast a spell. You don't know how to cast spells. When you begin to understand the power that's inside of you through spirituality, and you begin to command realities into existence, then you can change your future realities with your own vocal cords, because the power of the Creator is in you. So spirituality is concerned with those qualities of the human spirit such as love, compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, contentment, a sense of responsibility, a sense of wholeness and harmony, which brings happiness both to self and to others. That is a huge difference there. We are all walking nuclear power plants, right? Each cell generates 0.07 volts of electricity. We have 37.5 trillion cells in our body. That's 2.63 trillion volts of electricity in a human body. And you wonder why they had us plugged in the Matrix movie, right, to the system. People are like, how is a human body, how is a baby gonna power this Matrix? That's why. That's why. So when somebody says the light is in you, the power is in you, it's literally inside of you right now. Right? It's in you. How do you tap into it? When you learn the Qigong masters, they tap into this. The people in Reiki, they tap into this energy in the cells and they utilize it for healing purposes. This all is Kundalini awakening. It's channeling the energy from the cells up your chakra system into the pineal gland and having a Kundalini awakening, you see? So this is why it's so important. So now we're getting into energetic communication, which is another possibility through this level of enlightenment. When you begin to get to this level of enlightenment, when you get to the level of spirituality where the voice that you hear in your head is not sound like a man with a white robe on and a magic wand commanding things for you. go to this place and do this thing. When that voice begins to morph into your own voice, I can hear myself. It's me talking. Oh, I hear myself. Oh, it's me telling me to do this. My higher self is talking to me. It's not this sky daddy with a magic wand anymore. That's when you're making progress. I'm just saying. It's you talking to you from a higher dimension. Speaking from the heart through energetic communication. We're talking about operating on a positive frequency, which has the power to change lives. Science can actually prove this. Speaking from the heart can be as literal as it sounds. A discussion from the heart and its energetic vibrations can affect energy dissonance and can not only affect your life, but the energy vibrations of others. This is from MIT, what I'm reading you right now. This is not from my top of my head. I'm bringing you the receipts, okay? I'm bringing you the receipts. This is important stuff. You want to be able to explain this stuff? The organs of the body are powerful. They can emit some vibrations that contribute how others perceive us. Learn how you can significantly improve the quality of your life and the people that are nearest and dear to you. It's all through energetic communication. It's how do you operate within gratitude? When somebody hands you something or does something for you and you say thank you, do you feel that thank you? Or are you just regurgitating something like a robot? Most of us do. I'm guilty of it. Oh, thank you. Or do I really feel that thank you? Am I really feeling the emotion of gratitude in that moment? Am I feeling it from my heart? When you begin to feel the gratitude from the heart chakra for everything that's done for you and every blessing that you've been giving, that's when you're moving into higher levels and higher states. And that energy will begin to affect other people around you, and you'll be able to see it and recognize it as well. This is another short clip I'm going to play here, showing you the power of how the mind transmits light waves that can control your environment.
Emotive is kind of this wild technology. It's a way for you to control things with your mind. It has all sorts of new use cases, and I'm here at their offices today to get into it a little bit more.
This goes behind your ears, and so you want your hair to be out of the way.
Okay.
And so we just put this on like
on
that.
the brain crown, okay.
And then this goes behind the ear, so we'll just slide this down.
Okay. So this is my brain right now.
This is your brain right now.
Oh my gosh.
In real time.
This is wild.
It's pretty wild. What you're seeing is the localized activity right now and the concentration of activity. So if there's a particular area that there's a huge amount of synchronization and activity, then you'll see it light up. So right now we're seeing a lot of activity there in the frontal and then parietal occipital. So parietal occipital
because I'm watching this.
Yeah, so we can look at facial expressions. So we can tell if you're blinking, you're winking, looking left and right, furrowing your eyebrows, raising them in surprise, smiling, clenching your teeth because you might be nervous. So all of those things we can detect very, very easily.
Emotive has been prototyping its wireless EEG technology for the past few years. Proven in the research sector, they are now developing a consumer product for market.
Yeah, so this is a really simple use case scenario where the idea is I can just will this car to drive forward just with my thoughts.
There you go. There you go.
The way that the detections work is that you show the machine learning algorithms how you think about driving the car forward. So
right, but I mean, when you're actually wearing it, like, and you have to think stop.
No, I have to just try and get back out of that
you have
zone.
To just stop thinking.
Yeah, you just got to stop thinking about it and get back to some other sort of normal.
Oh, how weird.
But when you're like, the thing about it is it's hard to get into the zone, and so when you're in the zone, you kind of stay in the zone for a little while longer.
But what do you mean in the zone? Like, do you think go, go, go?
No, I actually visualize, so when I'm training, I'm visualizing a cube moving into the distance.
You're actually, so you're training your brain to think of movement. Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm usually, the machine learning algorithms are picking up what my brain looks like when I'm thinking about moving this little cube into the distance. That trigger is sent to the car and it drives it forward.
What can people do with this other?
Interesting. So what that means is our brain is sending out electromagnetic frequencies, waves of light, every thought that you think. It leaves your skull because that thing is just sitting on the crown chakra, picking up light waves, leaving the brain. Going where? Into space-time. This is why the Akashic records are real. This is why the book of life is a real thing that actually exists, because every thought you've ever had since you've been able to conceive a thought exists on the M grid, on the membrane that we're living on. It exists in the energetic grid that creates and makes up the entire universe. And so because every thought's already out there, it means that somebody else somewhere local or even as distant as 100 million light years away, if they're on the right frequency, can tap into your thought and download it, as we looked at earlier with the neuro-correlates of consciousness in the claustrum, and actually discern it, and it becomes their idea as well. See? So through quantum entanglement, we know now that our thoughts and our minds even phase in and out of the third dimension. In quantum physics, they discovered this. You can entangle thoughts and information anywhere at any time, from the past or even from the future. And a lot of the times you think you have an original thought, you downloaded that information and you were able to discern it and act on it. There are no true, real, a lot of original ideas. A lot of everything, all the thoughts pretty much almost all exist. Because you're talking about Googles of entities thinking throughout the entire known universe, and those frequencies exist and are locked into this grid. And so, you know, you have famous people that have been able to tap into this, mediums and such, that have been able to tap into this information, this field. But it's there. Through science, we know that it's there. And how we know this, I Love Lucy, 1960s. It was played on a wave of light called radio waves. Radio waves are light waves. We can't see the light waves. We can't see the light waves coming out of our brains because human beings only see 1% of the light spectrum. We can't see gamma rays, X-rays, infrared rays, ultraviolet rays, and all this kind of stuff. We'd go crazy if we could see all this stuff. But they're all waves of light. So, you know, I Love Lucy has been broadcast out. It's going through space right now. It's left the Oort cloud. It's on the outer Oort cloud. It's heading in intergalactic space. The I Love Lucy TV show is still going. A distant alien race is going to see Lucy one day if they can decode the frequency, right? Oh, wouldn't that be a cool place to visit? They got, you know, they're going to be like, got this lady down there telling these jokes and stuff. But the thing is, they're tapping into light waves that already are floating freely through the grid, just like your thoughts are. So be mindful of what you think because the universe is listening. And last slide. So what is energetic communication? Energetic communication is the belief that your emotional state can affect vibrations and energy in the fields you emit. The idea that a positive attitude is critical here. The knowledge that we have the power to shape our lives has been around much longer than Western thought. Okay? This is ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom. Ancient cultures and civilizations believed in energetic communications. Some form of its ethos has been around for centuries, I believe eons. This belief or mantra even made its way into early Hindu teachings. Chinese medicine, which I talked about earlier, such as acupuncture, focuses on many chakras or energy fields. Chakras exist inside the body and are congruent with many different bodily systems. And one of the most well-known chakras is the heart chakra. This energy is believed to affect both the external and internal human form and is seen in Eastern medicine to affect the body, but most of all, other systemic operations of the spirit. In acupuncture, if your heart chakra remains blocked or misaligned, many things can begin to go wrong with your life. The blockage of chakras of any kind can lead to adverse effects on all sorts of systems. The heart chakra allows you to experience love, not only love for yourself, but love for other people. We're talking about true, unconditional love. That's really important for ascension of spirituality. Aside from love, if your heart is open, you can find all sorts of events begin to occur. Once you communicate with your heart, you'll be able to fulfill your ultimate purpose. Opening your heart can give you many insights into the person you are and who the person you're supposed to be. Who are you destined to become? You have to ask yourself that question. Who am I destined to become? And the answer to that question is going to be the destiny that you create for yourself, because we have the power to create our own destinies. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Join us for our 10th anniversary celebration during our 2025 Sedona Ascension Retreat. celebrating a new humanity uniting and a new earth arising, featuring the world's most renowned spiritual teachers, best-selling authors, and award-winning performers. Our retreat includes a dozen indoor workshops and 8 outdoor journeys into Sedona's vortex sites, as well as a Native American performance by world champions, the Sinquat family. Enjoy on-stage presentations.
All crystallized seed at the center of that orb of light is your physical mind.
So today we'll be talking about religion versus spirituality, because I think there needs to be a clear line drawn between the two to get a better understanding.
This path that we're all on has been well mapped. The science is established, and what we are doing today is recovering it.
The greatest gift you can offer. I am your host, Suzanne Ross, and I invite you to join us for our 10th anniversary celebration. Just visit SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. Reserve your seats today. I'll see you in Sedona.
I love every single one of you with all of my heart. I mean it. I mean it. I love you and you and you and you and you and you and you. Thank you so, so, so much.